So, take a deep breath, inhale, exhale. Come on in. Come on in. Have a seat. I got a little something, something for you, okay? Hello, I'm Ed Montgomery, aka Dr. Ed. Thank you for being with us right here on Vintage Wisdom. You know, we call this Vintage Wisdom because one thing we learned about grapes, and that is they say when the grape is crushed, that's the vintage. That's what's considered to be vintage. Vintage also means older. It means classic. I'm trying to stay away from the word ancient. And vintage wisdom is wisdom that comes from living through times where those grapes were crushed. Sometimes life was crushed. Sometimes what you've gone through, you didn't know you were going to be able to get out of it, but you lived through it, and now you got some wisdom. So I just want to pour a little wisdom in your cup. Take what you want, leave the rest. But hey, have a seat, sit down. Let's have a talk about something. I heard about an incident that took place in Oklahoma. And what it was about is a reporter had gone in to record a city council meeting, something to that effect. And was there, because reporters go to see what's going on in city council and what the mayor's doing or what the chief of police and all the people that in the council come together and talk about. So it's one of those laws, you have to have open meetings. So they had an open meeting. However, this reporter knew that they were talking about stuff sometimes they were not supposed to talk about. In other words, you're not supposed to be talking about other business after the meeting is adjourned. Everybody's supposed to go home. But this reporter, who is the owner of a newspaper, knew something else was happening. So what he did, he left his recorder there, whether on purpose or who knows, but he left it on there and it was voice activated. And after he was gone, the people started to talk. I think it was the chief of police. It was other leaders of the council people, and they began to talk about things. And they were talking about things, how they were upset at this reporter, that he's uncovering things. And then something came out and it got kind of, they knew they were by themselves. And one of the persons said, well, back in the old days, we would just, do like we did with black people. We just lynch them. And this is on a recording. Then they talked about hitmen. They talked about maybe we need to get rid of this reporter, the owner of this of this city's newspaper. They just started talking about things, and all this is on the paper. Anyway, the reporter gets his recorder out there, turns this story in. And so they come back and says, well, we're reporting on this story, but our issue is not what they said about lynching and hanging people and getting hit folk, and they already got 2 graves dug, they can put them in. It's not that. What they came up with is who hid the tape recorder? Where'd they put it? How in the world did they get it in here and we not know it? And so they were more concerned with somebody recording how they were talking afterward than the talk they were talking. So this is going on. You got issues about a young boy. Who was this? I believe this was in Kansas. I believe it was in Missouri. And he's looking for his younger twin siblings. And he's there to pick them up. But it's out in more of a rural area. There's no GPS. So he goes there to a house. It's the wrong house. Rings the doorbell. The guy comes. You've all heard about this. The guy comes along and the guy opens the door. He's about 80-something years old. And without saying anything, without doing anything, he opens the door, pulls out a gun, bam, shoots the kid in the head. Kid falls. He's 16 years old, black boy. Falls to the on the porch, to the ground. Then he shoots him again in the arm. The kid is somehow alive, and he staggers to the house next door to ask for help. Banging on the door, lights go on, nobody will answer. He goes to the next house, bleeding, knocks on the door. Somebody, I think, slams the door. I think he finally gets to a third house, whatever the number of the house was. Finally, the person who opens the door, says, "Put your hands up. Put your hands behind your head. Get on the floor." And this kid is bleeding, and then this is when the person calls, 911. Then you got another incident when you got kids, about 3 or 4 men in a car. They're in a rural area. They're in the wrong, they're at the wrong address. They were looking for somebody, but at the wrong address. Now, these are not black kids. This is not a black 16-year-old that you think is going to harm you. This is a young 20-year-old non-melanated girl with her friends. They drive up in the driveway. The guy sees them, comes out, about a 65, 66-year-old, pulls out a gun and begins to shoot the car. Actually, the kids are already realizing they're in the wrong place. And, because there's no GPS, kids are in the GPS. And they start backing out the driveway, but the guy comes out and starts shooting. Kills one of the kids. The kids are driving. They can't even get a hold of an ambulance for about 4 or 5 miles because they're not in GPS range. 20-year-old young white girl dies. So we see something. And we can go on and on. That's just this past weekend. And it makes me begin to ask these questions. What is being fed into the minds of people? Where is this coming from? There was a pastor that was preaching. And he was preaching about another well-known pastor, black pastor, but the pastor was white who was preaching, but he's preaching about a well-known black pastor. I didn't want to get into the names today. Maybe later, unless I had clips to let you see it. And he calls the black pastor, he must, he preaches about slavery and talks about slavery and what it is. What he doesn't realize is he's a slave. He's a slave to the government. It just goes on and on and on. It makes you just kind of shake and saying, I wish I could just take this guy's shoulder and just, gently shake him. But you ask yourself the question, where's all this coming from? Look, I don't want to hurt anybody. I'm not thinking of trying to start something to make, this country go into a racial kind of whole context. That's not what I'm thinking of. I just want to live side by side with people. But I think what's happened is we're now in an era where people who used to, old Joe the accountant would go in there and have a little, and I've seen them when I was growing up, little racial cartoons, of a black guy and maybe a monkey, and he'd show it to the friends and everybody would be laughing. Oh, and Joe would say, look at this, isn't that funny? And used to think it was funny because you showed somebody black as a monkey or somebody, using the N word and just laugh and then realize, well, you can't do that anymore. You can't pass these kind of cartoons around. You can't send this on the fax machine. You can't send this with a memo. You can't put this in your back pocket and then show it to the coworker, and you and the coworker laugh. And then when the black guy or the black woman walks in, you just and you just fold it back and put it in your pocket. You can't do that anymore. You're not allowed. That's what they said in Oklahoma. It used to be a time you could just lynch them, but you can't do that anymore. It's illegal. You can't do that anymore. Like they were longing for the days. Carry me back to old Virginia. Take me back. And when I was a little bitty baby, my mama used to rock me in the cradle in the old cotton fields back home. Longing for those days. Well, just because the overt things happen doesn't mean that things have changed in the hearts of people. What kind of heart shoots a gun before you know about kids in the car? What kind of person comes to a door and shoots because someone looks the wrong color? What kind of group of people talk about hurting someone, lynching somebody, calling hit people to put them in their grave, and we already got graves dug? And these are city officials. What kind of people? What you discover is though they don't do it on the outside anymore. Well, they're starting to. Something's going on in their hearts. What is it about other people you don't like? What's going on in our hearts? Yeah, laws make us change. You can't do this, you can't do that in the open, but you know, if there's two things I have learned in life, maybe one thing, but you know, you don't learn too many things. There's a couple of things that I have learned in life. I know one of them is the camera is always on. Microphones are always open. If you don't want people to see certain things you doing or hear certain things you saying, you got to go through your life. Unfortunately, in this day of apps and microphones and cameras and cell phones, when you out there, you got to go through life realizing that the camera is always on. Yep, say it with me. The camera, that's number one, is always on. And the second thing, there's a second thing that's really important. And you got to remember this, because if you remember this, this can change everything about your life. Everything about your life. This is going to help you. I mean, throughout your life, it's going to help your relationship. It's going to help you in your corporate life. It's going to help you in your relationships. It's going to help you in your marriage. It's going to help you with that young girl, that young boy, that older girl, or that older boy. It's going to help you fix things in your life. And I'm going to tell you what that is. And I'm going to tell you what that is. And I'm going to tell you what that is on the other side. And not only on the other side of something, I'm also going to give out what I call I call it a prayer energy. I call it a type of energy that we're going to send to some of these people and some of these families. And we're going to use our collective that's what I like to call it, affirming energy. Not, I could just call it, we just gonna pray for you. But affirming energy sounds like something that we can send, because all of us carry a certain amount of energy. Your major energy center is not your brain, it's your heart. And we're gonna want to send something out. There's a lot of young people that are going through things. I'm watching young people that are seeing killings on the street. I'm watching young people that are dealing with accidents. Young people who there's trauma that's happened to their minds and happened to their bodies. A lot of trauma is going on out there with a lot of young people. I mean, if that's you and you're saying, listen, I pray for my child, or pray for this person to just, you know, you have to list a whole bunch of things on the internet, but you can make the comment. Just say, hey, send that affirmation energy. Send that AE. Instead of AI, send AE. Affirming energy. Send AE concerning my child. Send some AE concerning my husband, or concerning my whatever it is. But especially for many of these young people right now. Type it in the comment. Let me know that you're there and that you're listening. Yeah, let me know. And not only that, but also let me know where you're listening from. Because I'm coming back with this second thing that you can do. That's going to change everything. You won't get caught, folk, hearing what you're talking about and thinking. You're going to get caught with all this kind of stuff. Don't go away. Stay right with me. Make that comment. Watch this. Thank you so much for everything that you do and for being a part of what we do. You know, Really, you are the most important piece to this puzzle. And yeah, it is a puzzle. And when you begin a puzzle, you don't always know what it's going to be or what the picture is unless you look on the box. But once you put all the pieces together, you start getting an idea of what it's about. And what it's about is expanding compassion and love in our community. But first of all, you got to expand that compassion and love within yourself. If you don't love yourself and have compassion for yourself, come on, it's not going to work. But you are one of the most loving, compassionate people that you know. Right? Right. You know who you are. And this is what we try to do each and every week when we connect with one another. I'm going to ask you to do something. This is the moment that we ask you to give. Not to give merely because you ought to just give something. But giving is a part of receiving. It's like a figure 8. It's like going around a track. As you give, it comes back to you. But it comes back to you in more than what you give. It comes back to you in ways that people treat you, how people look at you, how people feel about you. You'd be surprised how things come back to you. Blessings and miracles, we use those terms. How they come back to you. Here's what you can do. Take a moment and you can use your text to give. That number's on your screen. It's 713-742-2035. That's text to give. I think I got it right, yeah. Or you can go to myalc.org. That's myalc.org. That's our website. And you can use that to give. But whatever one you use, make sure you do it. Don't wait. Do it now while you're thinking about it. Don't be like me, because I forget sometimes, but no, do it while you're thinking about it and get it done. And remember that when you do this and you give of yourself, you're giving of your spirit. And you know how big your spirit is? I told you how much love and compassion is in you. Listen, can you imagine all that coming back to you? I can. It's going to be huge. Thank you so much. Welcome back to Vintage Wisdom. This is just wisdom. This is not a Bible study. This is just wisdom from watching things that go on through life every day. And I told you I was going to tell you what that number 2 thing is. So make sure you hit that like button. Not just, I think it's a thumbs up, but hit that like button. If you're on YouTube and you're not subscribed, subscribe. So that way you can, I can let you know when our next videos coming up, when things are coming up. And besides, it's about algorithms. I don't like to get caught up in all these algorithms and things like that. I just don't like to get caught up in all that stuff. But it's the way the world is. It's the way the world is. So I'm gonna count to 3, and you go ahead and take that. When I hit the 3, then pound that subscribe button or that like button. Either one or both of them. Are you ready? 1, 2, 3. Keep doing while I drink this water. That's good. That's cold water. Did you hit it? Smash it? Crash it? All right. Here's that number 2 thing. And don't you ever forget this. If you don't want people to hear you say crazy stuff, if you don't want people to hear you say stupid stuff, if you don't want people to see you doing stupid things, then sit yourself down somewhere by yourself. Get into your little meditation profile and start telling yourself, if you don't want it to come out in public, stop laughing at racist cartoons and racist jokes in private. And when some of your friends come to you and say to you, listen, ain't this funny about this N-word and that? You just tell them, hold up, man. Hold up, girl. I don't go in for that kind of racist stuff. You say, but I'm going to lose my friends. They really don't care. They just trying to laugh. No, they trying to show that there's somebody special by coming up using these kind of little racist things to make you laugh, hoping that they got somebody else in the boat with them. Well, let them know that they in the boat by themselves. Just say, man, I'm not interested. And walk off. Because always remember, what number one I said? Remember, you always on camera. And number two, if you never want to get caught doing something stupid, if you don't want your wife catching you doing something stupid, you're going to have to practice not doing it. If you don't want the police to catch you doing something stupid, you're going to have to practice in private not doing it. If you don't want the news media to catch you, politicians, senators, congresspeople, if you don't want the news media, doctors, lawyers, if you don't want the news media, presidents catching you doing something stupid in public, then practice and saying, you know what? I shouldn't be talking like this in private. Deputy dog, get rid of your double life. That's right. Either you're going to be Clark Kent or you're going to be Superman, but you can't continue to carry a double life. Start practicing to be who you are. Be your authentic person all the time. Oh, you're going to screw up. You're going to mess up. But be who you are. You don't have to take off your glasses and says, no, I'm Clark Kent and no, I'm Superman. No, just be who you are all the time. And enjoy your life. Hang with people you like being with authentic people, authentic groups, and be your authentic self. Look, I'm finding out that it's much more easier to live like that. Now, for those of you that are watching here and you're saying, I want you to send some affirming energy to, I've got a daughter, I've got a son. They've been watching some of these crazy stuff. They've been dealing with some of these things in school. Maybe they run with a crowd that they shouldn't be. Maybe they got caught in a situation. It was just impossible. Maybe something has happened, an accident. Maybe something has changed. Something has happened to one of their friends in school. And it's hurting them deeply, not just physically, but emotionally and mentally. I want to send this out to you. I want to send this out for you. And you can practice it. It says you can lay hands on the sick and they shall recover. What that means, that don't mean you know, no, that's not what that means. But it means, laying hands means that you can hold your child, love that other person, and begin to say to them, you are not the sum total of your current experiences. There's much more for you in your future. Let the healing flow. You've been through something. Your grapes were crushed at another time in your life, but you've got some wisdom flowing. So let that wisdom flow. Be healed right now. Amen. Thank you so much for joining. Hit that like button. Let us know you were here. And you know, we're going to always be here for you. And always going to keep pouring vintage wisdom. All right. See you next time. Hey, don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Hit that subscribe button. Smash it, crash it.